Anyone get tracking numbers from him this week from Gil? Oh, she's talking about. I didn't realize what she was talking about. Anyone get tracking numbers from him this week from Gil? Oh,
Whoever's got the playback's got to turn it off.
yeah, I don't know.
Oh, that's me by accident. I think.
Yep.
Sorry.
But we should be live now. Finally. Finally.
That was probably me. I just paused the video, so.
You guys got questions for me, you guys know how to get a hold of me, all right? We don't need to ask them in here. And sorry, it's been a rough night. There was a bunch of issues, and sorry we're late on the streams. I got to work all day and then come home, all right? I got a job. So anyway, how you doing, Nate? It's been very frustrating, as you've seen, for the last half an hour, 45 minutes, because somehow everything just went crazy for some reason.
Difficulties. It's hotter than Hades out there.
Yeah, it's very
long day. You get home and you have to deal with technical bullcrap. That's life.
I just don't understand how something's set up all the time and it's always fine, and then you go to use it and all of a sudden shit's all messed up. But anyway, Nate, Kelly, what's up, my brother? Thanks for being here again.
What's going on? I was gonna say it's called having four children.
Yeah, I don't that stuff. I don't like when things doesn't work when it's supposed to. It's very frustrating. But thank you guys, everybody, for being here, man. I appreciate you guys, man. It's I don't know what the hell happened with had to freeze up, and anyway, we're here. But if you guys have not heard, we just did a podcast with Nate not long ago. If you guys don't know Nate Adams, he is the home whisperer. He whispers the house.
House whisperer.
House whisperer. Sorry, the house whisperer. But yeah, we had a great conversation with Nate talking about home performance. It really was a great conversation. And I guess I wanted to do this live so that people could ask questions and stuff like that. I guess I just wanted to get into it about how we were talking about how people don't realize how big this is, and sometimes HVAC guys we think we're in home performance, but we really don't understand the big, vast picture of it. So I guess explain to everybody, even though we kind of talked this on the podcast, about, in general terms, home performance. Like what your main goal is when you're trying to go into a home.
That was 3 different questions, Gil. Which one do you want?
Take your choice, man.
Okay. So I think the easiest way to describe building performance or home performance is looking at a building like a doctor looks at a body, and not just any doctor, but more of a general practitioner. It's the family doctor. He's like, so there's this, or this, and then he'll send you off to go see a specialist if need be. But building performance is much more of a general thing where you're looking at the entire house at the same time as one whole. It's a system of systems, which might be a little bit too out there, but basically it's mainly HVAC on one side and insulation on the other. So it's making the heat or the cool, as we're now getting into, and then keeping that heat or cool in. So those are the 2 main functions, but then you want a house to be comfortable for your clients. You want it to be healthy for your clients, and having it be reasonably efficient is nice too. And we can do all that, but you have to back up and think of the house all at the same time. So you guys actually have the hardest piece of it. Having come into this from the insulation side, that part is easy compared to HVAC. Every time I think I have my head mostly around HVAC, something comes up and sends me spinning off down another rabbit hole where I'm like, crap, I know nothing. So it's just again and again and again. And I've gotten to the point where I'm okay with that, and I'm looking for those rabbit holes.
No, that makes sense. We got some questions. Miss Susie Dunn said, where would you start with a 45-year-old house, gas appliances, wall-to-wall carpet, or says wall-to-wall cap? I'm not sure what.
Yeah, she came
carpet.
In and said carpet. Yeah. I'm trying to watch the feed too. Well, so Susie, that's a really good question, because without knowing what you want out of the house and what the needs of the house are specifically, and then what the budget is to do that, I don't know how to answer that question, because there's 3 million different ways we could do that with slight twists. So until we define what your goals are, what the house needs, and what the budget for the project are, it's really difficult to land on the specific project. It's kind of like going and like a buddy, like I want a car. Okay, well, what do you want it to do? I don't know. Car. How much you want it to spend? I don't know. Like you can't help him find the right car for him. But I know that may feel like dodging the question. It's not, because those are the things that have to be figured out. That's part of what we developed in the process that we're working on. You define those, and that's how we sell those larger projects, because we help people understand what they want to fix and then what the house needs. I don't know if that does an amazing job or not. Susie, if you want to chime in, am I just making you angry, or is that helpful?
Well, that does make sense, because I know when me and Kelly talked to you, it's not like a one size fits all with, when it comes to home performance. And when you explained that to me and Kelly, it made a lot of sense that, you go into somebody's house and every job could be 100% different. Maybe you're doing some of the same things, but how you get from point A to point B to C to D could be a totally different path.
Yeah, precisely.
What's the most common path that you take? I mean, like, there's got to be something that you see that repeats once in a while. I mean, or so like, just let's say my budget is, I don't even know what a budget, like what type of budget you're dealing with, but let's say it's like $20,000.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I have, and I know that my house is inefficient, and I've got 3 inches insulation in my attic. My windows aren't that great. My walls aren't insulated very well. Like,
yeah,
what are we looking at? Yeah, what do we do?
So for starters, windows for us pretty much never enter into the equation.
Okay.
Because they're so expensive. A retail window job usually 10 or 20 grand. So we just ate the budget, and all we've got are windows, which are unlikely to make substantial comfort gains, unless you have a house that has like giant south-facing glass that you can't shade, something like that, or giant west-facing glass.
Right.
So that would likely be a leaky house, which then would need air sealing and then insulation. So we have what we call it's 5 steps of building performance. The first one is air seal. The second one is air seal. The third one is air seal. And then we insulate, and then we put the right HVAC in. So the problem that we found with that framing, so first it's important, like if you don't understand how leaky your house is, you cannot land on the right piece of equipment. You just can't, because air leakage can be between 20 and 70% of load. So we've seriously seen the same house with the same R values in a load calc with leakage rates that we have seen. So these are not obscene. Like, they're high, they're on the high side and they're on the low side, but from 2 tons to 70,000 BTUs for heating for the same house, only changing the blower door number. That's it. So if you don't know that number, can you do a good load calc? Not really.
Yeah, no.
Having energy use can help a fair amount, but with a blower door, if I've got blower door and energy use and I've been to the house, I can probably land that house within 3,000 or 4,000 BTUs of the right load calc. So I won't be quite dead nuts, but 3,000 or 4,000, do you have to be closer?
No, you can be comfortable.
Our sizes are 12,000 or 20,000 between, air conditioner and a furnace usually. It's the air sealing is really critical, Kelly. But what we've found, and it surprised us, because in our practice, we deal with basket case houses. So people come to us, they've already taken 1, 2, 3, 4 swings at it trying to solve a problem. And then we come in and we bring the big old sledge and we fix that house, but we fix it by beating the crap out of it. And so all we ever see are these really screwed up houses. It's like, what's the therapist who always thought that everybody wanted to sleep with their mom. I'm trying to think, not Young, but the guy before Young, Carl Jung. You got Freudian slip. So
Okay.
Freud, he thought everybody was crazy because all he saw was crazy people. And we thought that all houses were really screwed up because all we saw were incredibly screwed up houses.
Right.
But in developing HVAC 2.0, which is it's a sales process for this. I mean, the first big step of it, the comfort consult, the three things you're trying to figure out are: what are your goals, what does the house need, and what's the budget? And then you can begin to figure out what the path forward looks like. And in doing those blower door tests through those comfort consults, we're finding like half, 2/3 of houses just need the right HVAC. You need to downsize the HVAC, size it to what the house actually needs, put in multiple stage stuff, maybe deal with a couple of duct deficiencies, maybe deal with a leaky room, and you're probably done. And that surprised the heck out of us. That was not something that we saw coming.
So when you do air seal, and somebody, rookie's asking the question, so did Miss Susie, is what are you using to air seal a house?
Good question. So that is pretty much always done. Like the important part for sealing a house is the top and the bottom. And I think we talked about that last time.
Yeah, we did.
So,
yeah.
Like if you have a boat, if you have a hole in the bottom of the boat, that's a real problem. The boat's going to sink. If you have a hole at the water line, it'll be fine. So a house looks basically like two boats, one on top of the other. So like this, if you will. So it's the top and the bottom that matter. So to air seal, we use a lot of closed cell foam, which gives people, some people they're like, that's overkill or something. Like, I just know that it works, and it works pretty easily the first time, and the quality control work is not that difficult to do. And we routinely get half the leakage out of our houses, which is wild. If you go look at other people with the numbers they're posting, and that's another fun thing about 2.0, we're going to be able to have a leaderboard. So this is going to be a game. We'll have a ballsy sizing contest. We'll have a who's the best at air sealing contest. There's going to be all these sorts of things where it's more opportunities to get better in trash talk.
Right.
That's what it is. Because right now, how do we compete? I say I'm better than you. You say you're better than me. Who is? I don't know. Let's go race for pink slips. Let me see your numbers. So we're going to get to do that sort of thing. But typical air sealing reductions, getting 20 or 30% out of a house isn't that hard. Getting 50% out is pretty difficult.
Are you guys having to put in a lot of just dedicated whole home dehumidifiers? Or are you finding that you're putting in higher end inverter systems? Because Nate's my man. He agrees with me on the high end inverter systems.
Yeah. I don't ever want to see a single stage again, because I can't make them work. You have something that's, we routinely see furnaces that are 2 times as large as they need to be for the heat load.
I believe that, yeah.
When we go in and we true a heat load and we take out all the fudge factors, and we're in Cleveland, so all three of us have fairly similar climates. Gil, you might be a touch warmer. Kelly, you're probably a touch colder, but not a lot. And 2,000 square foot houses come into the 3-ton ballpark all the time. Sometimes there's a little bit less. Sometimes it's 45,000, so you're pushing 4 tons, but it's never an 80,000 BTU furnace. So if all you have is 80,000 BTUs or nothing, unless it's really cold out, that is really the wrong piece of equipment. And even when it's 5 degrees out, it's still the wrong piece of equipment. It should never shut off at design temp.
I got another question. Adam from
he wants to call in.
Overtime. I'm gonna let him call in a little bit later, but he's got a question he wants to ask you about a humidity thing. But I want to ask you this question. When I was on Shop Talk with Zach, Ralph, Justin, and Brent was on there, we'll take calls here. I'll put the number back up here in a little bit, and I'll take calls. But Zach asked us a question. He said, would you rather take a 14 SEER system with a whole home dehumidifier or an inverter system? And I said an inverter system.
Inverter.
So, sorry, Kelly, you go first.
that just seems like a no-brainer type question to me. I don't know. I mean, I get the removing humidity, extra humidity, but you can't, that's not going to substitute the extended runtime, which, and the comfort between rooms, right?
Well, yeah, and what he was thinking about is really humidity is a problem in the shoulder seasons. We know it's going to run in the summertime. It's going to be in the off seasons, but what people don't realize is humidifiers have a dehum setting, that just because your thermostat is set at say 75 and it's 75 in your house, if your humidity gets up to a certain point, that unit will come on just to dehumidify. It'll actually overcool the space to dehumidify. But I always tell people is inverters will always be air conditioners first. Always. Yeah. And we had a problem, and I think I told you this, Kelly. We had an issue where one of my guys made a bunch of promises to a customer that they couldn't keep because they were like, oh, well, this system will take care of, your humidity issues. And this person, humidity was so bad where they were located that, to be honest, they needed somebody like you, Nate. They needed a home performance person, but they needed an inverter and a dedicated dehumidifier for the house. Once we put in the dehumidifier with that, dude, this she's as cool as a cucumber, as happy as could be. But that just proves the point that inverters are great. I love them. I got 2 of them. I love these things. When I move, I will put new ones in ASAP. But they're not the end-all be-all. You still have to have situations and know what you're doing. And I didn't mean to ask you a question and then talk for 20 minutes.
No, that's fine. So, well, there's 2 points here that are important. So, one is this is why we like reheat dehumidification so well. And right now, Carrier and Bryant and the ICPs at their top ends, those are the only ones that have it built in. Train has it where you can pay $300 extra or so for the stat, and you can get good dehumidification settings. Although, come on, guys, $300, really? Like, come on.
I know. I'm a Carrier guy, man. If you talk to Kelly, this damn Train guy over there, trying to, Train just dipping in your pockets, man. I'm telling you.
At least it's getting there. But yeah, in shoulder seasons, if you start monitoring what your humidity is, you're going to find that you're getting yourself out of control. So the reheat is really, really useful for that, but it is not perfect. So it still is nice. There are applications for a whole house dehumidifier, and we use them periodically. So the nice thing about our practice is because we don't actually install anything, but we can get anything installed. Whatever we want, we can get done. So it's freeing because you can do whatever you want. But one other issue that we have found is shoulder seasons when it's on the cooler side. So say 60 to 70 degrees. So you can still get your dew point in the 60, 65 degree range, which, I mean, we're just coming out of. It was wild. We had an inch of snow on the ground 2 weeks ago, and it was 90 degrees today. What is this? Where are we? But I've watched a couple of houses that really could use that dehumidification when they're basically floating between the heating and cooling set points.
Makes sense.
So I've watched that, and so I'd like to have that added. So that the only way to truly deal with that's dedicated dehu, whatever that looks like.
Kelly, Zeke said he's got your back. He said, "I got your back, millionaire Train."
That's right. That's right. Boom.
Miss Susie brought up a good. She said her company's everywhere doing what Nate does, or only his company in Ohio. I'll be honest. I know quite a few, and not to talk you up, Nate. I know quite a few home performance places, and not saying some of them out there aren't doing what Nate does, but I do know that Nate and them take it to a whole nother level. I know quite a few home performance guys, and they're not doing what Nate's doing. I guess maybe we can't call them technically home performance. And that's what I think. That's what we were talking before. I think there's a lot of HVAC companies trying to get into that game, which that's fine, but you got to do it right. Don't just buy a blower door and now you're a home performance company. That's not the way this works.
Are you trying to queue up HVAC 2.0 or something here?
Yeah, that's what I was hitting the button, but you weren't seeing it come up on your end.
Okay, I'm a little slow sometimes. Yeah, so I mean, so this program that we've been working on, HVAC 2.0, it's basically a sales process, is what it is.
Did you say sales? Because sales is like a dirty word.
Sales is a 4-letter word.
That's a dirty word to some of these people.
I know what you mean. So, but here's the beautiful thing about it: it's a sales process where if you ever feel like you're selling, you're doing it wrong. Does that sound better?
Yeah. Hey, it's fine with us regardless.
Yeah. So I mean, the purpose of it is so originally, I mean, we come from the home performance world, which is primarily government programs and government money, and it has never ever scaled because they're always trying to force people to do stuff that they don't want to do. So the process that we've developed is basically offer and decline again and again and again and again. Like, so we can do this or we can do this. Here's the pros and cons. What do you want to do? And then they make their choice. It's choose your own adventure for building performance. So most people are going to do a free quote, but instead of having to go do a big dog and pony show, you're going to let them know, hey, I'll replace this like for like, or if you want a specific size, you tell me. We'll write that down and we'll do that. We'll give you good, better, best, and we're going to move on. But we're not going to spend a ton of time like we could do this or we could do that, or we got this problem and that problem. Will it help with that? Oh, well, we have a service for that called a comfort consult. Be happy to come out and do that for you. It's X number of dollars. Is that something you'd like to do? No, I don't really want to. Okay, so then we'll just like for like. And if they sign off on that, you are off the hook for that. So you have now responsibly avoided responsibility. And the whole process just works like that, step by step by step. And the comfort consult, it's not hard. There are 3 requirements. The hardest one is you have to know how to run a blower door, which I can teach you in an hour or 2. It's not that difficult. All you guys are mechanical. If I have to work with some philosophy major, yeah, it's going to be a problem. But with any HVAC tech, you guys are going to catch on. It's not that hard. The other thing is you need to be reasonably good with other human beings. And the third thing is you need to be able to read a script. If you can do those, you can run a comfort consult, meaning you can send the new guy out there and he'll be okay. So we've been building the process so that 80% of the work can be done by entry-level talent. Because if we don't, we're going to have a problem because, I mean, what are we all struggling with bringing in new talent?
Yeah.
So is this like a PDF type presentation, or like a book, or like how to go through it and read it to the customer? Is it something you could show to the customer on a tablet, or? Yeah,
it's just going to be a web app. So it's ending up being a piece of software, but it's not really a piece of software. It's basically just it's like a set of train tracks. So it's the process laid on tracks where you just go down the track, and it helps keep you from coming off one way or the other, because we have found an awful lot of ways for this to fail. You come a degree off the track at one point or another, and very quickly you're off in the weeds.
Gotcha.
So it's not an easy thing to figure out. This has taken my partner and I a decade to figure this process out. So anyway, bad is the new good. Love it, Susie. Yeah.
Yeah.
You already read that. Dang.
It was funny. I accidentally paused over here, and both of you guys were like everybody was all frozen. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, oh my God, please don't tell me problems again. But no, it's all fine. We still have a little bit before I'm going to let people call in. I'll let them call in towards the end of the show. I know one thing that home performance is like I guess we're kind of like repeating what we talked about on the podcast, but home performance is something that I've always the fact that I have liked my love for inverters and really doing more in a home. I've kind of saw the big picture about, home performance, and we don't realize how big of a part that we have in that. And I think maybe that some of us, maybe we need to start finding someone in our area that is a home performance person, or we need to get our talents and take them to the next level, because I think this is something that people need to be offered. It needs to be something that we're showing our customers, because a lot of people, yes, it's a lot of money, but who wants to be uncomfortable in their own home? Nobody.
It would help, even out some shoulder seasons. And it would also, I guess, all that goes together, just extra work, it's extra work. So you may have to hire some extra crews during the summer, but I don't know. I think preferably you book it for a slower time.
Yeah, you push it to a shoulder.
Yeah, perfect.
If you have someone who's coming in and you're doing this rigmarole, you can let them know, look, I'm slammed. This is a very detail-oriented thing where I want to be able to give you the amount of time that it's going to take to do this job right. And if we're just thinking about we got to get to the next job, I'm going to struggle with that because I'm human. So I got a bunch of people, texting me, hey, when are you going to be here? Where if I can push you off to, say, late August, September, something like that, maybe October when you're in a trough, you can shove that job there. And because it's not an emergency, they're doing this well in advance of when the equipment actually needs to get changed. They'll move. Or if they give you a little bit of a hard time, you say, well, I'll give you $250 off if you wait till then, or whatever it might be. So,
Yeah.
You can find some way, or, I'll throw in the stat or whatever. You guys work your magic on that.
So what's the cost to get into it? I know there's the blower door and all I know there's a few other test instruments, like probably your infrared camera and is it like somewhere around 5,000 or so?
Less than that.
Less than that. Okay.
Yeah. So blower doors are between $3,000 and $4,000 for the most part, depending on what level you want. And if you look, you can find them used every so often. You'll find one under $1,000 for a 10, 15-year-old one, and they work fine.
Gotcha.
But plan on $3,000 or $4,000, and then for the infrared camera, you don't need a killer infrared. I use a FLIR one. It's a $400 camera. So, and
Gotcha.
It'll be useful in diagnostics anyway. Like if you're trying to figure out if something's not working right, if you point it at a piece of equipment, if something's running too hot, it'll light up. So you'll be able to see it. I can always tell which breaker the blower door is running on because it pulls 1,000, 1,200 watts. So it'll make that breaker glow. So you can find all kinds of things with it if need be.
I have a cheap amp probe one that I actually got for free, and it served my purpose for what I need it for. But I probably would buy one. I think to the masses, all of us HVAC technicians, especially residential technicians, that you should somewhat learn. Obviously I don't know commercial stuff like this. That's a whole different, that's why we're saying home performance. But I think this is something, whether you plan on being or doing what Nate does, I think it's still good to learn a little bit about it, because sometimes you realize that you can go in there and sell them that great system and stuff like that, but there's more to it than that, that you're setting yourself up for failure because the customer's still going to be unhappy. And I've seen that. I've seen that situation. And if you don't know some of the little signs to look for, maybe you don't know how to solve those problems, but you know what to look for enough to say, hey, ma'am, I think the system's going to be great, but I think you have more issues than this. And maybe I need to get a friend of a friend, or, we need to get more pieces to this puzzle. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. It's going to be curious to see how the whole ecosystem works. Because there's going to be a place for independent auditors where the smaller HVAC shops are going to be, look, I don't want to train anybody. I don't have the time. You're going to have to basically fork over all the money for a comfort consult to that person. So like you won't be making anything at that point, but at least it'll be getting done. And then that will very likely, but most of those are already, they're not turning into the full building performance projects like we do, where it's 30 to 50 grand. They're mostly turning into really nice inverter systems and very happy customers. But because you've done your homework in figuring out, are there other problems with the house that should be solved? Like one of the key things is when you have the blower door up, so you're depressurizing the house to 50 pascals. That's the standard pressure. I don't know, it's like a 1/4 inch water column, something along those lines. If you go throw the hose of the manometer underneath the doors in the house, if it reads 50, it's all the way outside. If it reads 0, it's all the way inside. So you go and you look for rooms that are somewhere in the middle. They should be on the very edges. It should be close to 0 or close to 50. If you get anything in the middle, you can't HVAC problems away in that room. It's too leaky. So, so if you understand that going into it, then your gut that you were just saying, like, yeah, I think this inverter will help your house a lot, but you're just like, man, I'm worried about that master that's half over the garage. You should be, because it could be leaky, and if it's also the longest run and it doesn't have a big enough duct to get there, it's losing BTUs faster than the rest of the house, and it's not getting enough to replace it. So it will forever be too hot or too cold unless you solve one of the sides of that equation, or both.
No, that makes.
So when we purchase your program, is it going to come with some blower door training?
Yeah,
that goes with all of that. Are you going to film it and teach us how to do it so we can, you'll stay on the tracks,
Yes, exactly. So yes, yeah. So the alpha version is about to hit June 1st. So like we're almost there. So we have a small alpha crew where basically we have to figure out where are the really squeaky wheels and how are you all going to break this in ways that we didn't foresee.
Right.
It's going to get broken a lot. Yeah, that's fine. So I've already found a lot of ways to break it. I guarantee you. If there's a dumb mistake, I've probably made it. Hopefully not twice. Yeah, so the very first crew is basically closed at this point. But in the next couple of months, we'll be looking for the next round of users, and it's going to be very inexpensive. So it'll be $200 startup, basically, so that we've got a little time to do some one-on-one training with you, and then $50 a month. So it's basically nothing. We wanted it to be something without it being a lot, because we never want to take more value than we give. Because as soon as you max, like if something's worth $100 and you charge $100, you're like, yeah, it was fair. But if something's worth $100 and it was 50, you're like, that was a good deal. And we want it to always have that feel.
Yeah, over deliver always. Yeah.
Nate's the goddamn analogy king. If you guys don't know and you didn't listen to the podcast, Nate's analogies are like spot on. Like it's just like, damn, that was good. Like that totally made sense with what you were saying.
I did write a book. So it actually, speaking of which, anybody that wants to begin this path, go to natethehousewhisperer.com, and most of the book is a free download. So 4 out of the 6 chapters are free. If you really like it, please buy one. So at least I get a couple bucks out of it. Yeah, go read, and that'll hopefully help you out. And all the analogies that I use are out of the book.
Gotcha.
So I have these cold. They've been around for a couple of years.
Oh, so you just have a good memory.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
How long did it take you to come up with the boat analogy? That's the question.
It was a pain to sketch that out in my incredibly bad chicken scratch, and then ship it off to some guy in Indonesia who's a good cartoonist to turn it into a cartoon and then send it back.
Gotcha.
We figure out how do I use very simple English to critique it and get what I want out of revisions. So making all that happen was tricky. But we got there.
It's funny. Adam said the last 2 chapters are the important ones. He gives you everything for free except the last 2 ones you actually need to do anything.
Throughout the whole book, he's always saying like, but I'm going to show you that in the last chapter.
Not quite that bad, but my rule is if it's a concept, I'll give it to you for free. If it's nuts and bolts, I want to charge.
Yeah.
No.
And I think
no, you deserve to. You wrote a book, man. You deserve to get paid for it.
Yeah, you can't give it away, all of it. I mean, and plus, like me and Kelly always say, if you give it away for free, then people don't value it.
Exactly.
And that's the truth. If someone invests their money into something, it means they value it. They're gonna learn it. They're gonna take it. If I just say, "Here, take this. I'm gonna give it to you," they're probably gonna take it and throw it, and they're never gonna go back to it. And that's just the truth,
Free advice is worth what you pay for it.
Yeah.
It just is. But I should make one more point on that. So the second chapter in the book ended up becoming the most important, which is hilarious, and I did not see it coming. So it's HVAC 101, and it just compares how the HVAC system in a car works to the HVAC system in a house, which every homeowner intuitively understands. I'm boring you, Kelly. Sorry, man.
No, I'm just like
No. Kelly goes to bed
in the
early.
shower, getting ready, putting my jammies on.
Yeah. Anyway, so in comparing a house to a car, since most homeowners understand a car, when you compare them and you realize that most home HVAC systems suck, I mean, they're awful. So there's 6 things that every system should be able to do. Every car that has air conditioner can do 5. Most houses can do 0. That's pretty piss poor.
Yeah.
So when you send that to them, and it's part of HVAC or HVAC 2.0, but anybody who's interested, send that out. You don't have to credit us. You don't have to do anything. Send it out before you go do bids and just see what happens. Ask somebody, did they read it? What else? When you're going to drop the deets for that sweet swag? I think somebody's trying to pump you for some stuff there, Gil.
Oh yeah, no, that they were talking to Adam. Adam's got some from Overtime. He's got some cool shirts that he made out. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Cool. Well, does that help with the questions? Are we mostly up to speed?
Yeah. No, we're good. Actually,
I think so.
I'm just getting this phone to turn on since we were a couple minutes late. I'm gonna go ahead and some people I guess wanted to call in and ask you questions. Are you okay with people calling in and asking some questions? All right. Let me get this phone to turn on. It died. The podcast phone, because I'm not giving out my personal number. You guys can kiss my ass. Sorry, I'm not putting my personal number up on the screen. It's bad enough with this one. Oh, this thing is dead. But yeah, I'll get ready to start that. I'll throw the number up on the screen. Guys, don't call in yet. I'll tell you, anybody that wants to call in, I will tell you when you can call in. It's just not yet. Okay. Trying to move some things over here. There we go.
I'm just taking a look. I'm going back through the comments. Kangaroo God, why do you say that crappy duct on an inverter is the worst? So I get to ask somebody in the peanut gallery a question.
Yeah. Because people don't, and we're actually going to talk about airflow next week on Uncensored Basics 3 with me, Mr. Steve, and Corey, because I mean, airflow is key, man, and a lot of guys do not understand the basics of airflow. They really, really don't. What is the point of hooking up this really nice system if you have shit ductwork, your return's too small? You are setting a system up for failure. I don't care if it's a 14 SEER system. If it doesn't have the right airflow, it's still doomed from the get-go. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, it's an athlete that can't breathe. It's like sending out Usain Bolt with a straw to breathe through. He's going to fall over.
Yeah, and too many people, they go in there and they're so worried about being the cheapest bidder, so I get the sale. They're like, oh, I just want to get this system sold. I don't want to say anything about that. Or they don't know. They don't even know what they're looking at. That's a whole nother problem. I'd rather go in, bring it up, and hey, if I get the job, I can fix the whole package. I can explain why I'm more expensive. If I don't get it, guess what? They call me back to fix what the first guy didn't do.
Well, could you offer decline that? Like, so they really should get this, and this, but that's going to be $1,200 extra.
Yeah.
And have them sign off if they don't want it. Because that way you could still get the job, even if they want it cheap. And then you would still be able to go back and charge them extra to fix it.
When it doesn't work right, yeah.
In our experience, the near equipment changes are massive. So we seldom actually touch the rest of the duct systems. And we're basements and hard ducts, just like the other two of you, but unlike a lot of people probably watching. So if you just upsize the drop, we call it a big ass drop. You basically make it the same size as a media filter, so 25 by 25 or something along those lines. And then you put the media filter horizontal in there. We're seeing filter drops in the 0.04 to 0.07 range, so like nothing. There's 1-inch filters that don't even come close to that number, and we're doing it with MERV 13s. And there's nothing exotic. We're just doing a great big piece of sheet metal down. And same thing on the supply. You make it as big as you possibly can where it hooks up. And so we're routinely dropping systems from 0.8 to 1.2 static down to 0.2 to 0.4 is usually where we run. So occasionally we'll get a 0.5 or maybe a 0.55. But that's it. So near equipment is really, really important. And when you've got the equipment out anyway, that's the time to do it. It's way easier to change that than it is to change it after the fact with a system.
Right.
And that's the kind of stuff that you put it on the customer. You know what I mean? Like you just, exactly. That's why I always say, I don't sell anyone anything. I am there to advise them, give them all their options and let them make the decision. Most people have common sense. They are smart enough to make the right decision for them. But if I tell them, hey, all these systems I offered, regardless of which one you pick, we're going to have to, fix this ductwork. We're going to have to do this, or this is going to be a waste of money. Most people are going to realize that and be like, you know what? Okay. For one, you're being honest and you're setting yourself apart from all those other guys, because they're like, well, how come Gil's the only one that came in? All these other two jackasses came in and gave us,
They walked down to the furnace, took us, looked to see what the BTUs were on the furnace, and then turn around and gave them a price.
Yeah, I make an experience. I want them to remember my name when I leave. Not that HVAC guy. I want them to be like, oh, Gil came to our house. That's how I was taught, and that's what I do. And most of my customers, they know me on a first name basis. Most of them know my kids' names. That's how we, over the years, we've kind of built that relationship.
Well, and you got that nice commercial job.
Yeah.
When things were tanked hard because of that relationship building. It's all about relationships. And there's a really important point that you just made, which is talking to people like adults. So if any of you guys want to read or actually listen to a really interesting book, there's a book by David Sandler. So the whole thing that we do is based on the Sandler sales process. Uh-huh. And he talks about there being basically 3 ways that we communicate with each other. It's parent, adult, and child. And too much of our communication when we're talking to clients, we're treating them like children, or they are treating us like children. So it's parent-child or child-parent. And what you're doing there, Gil, is you're talking to them as adults. So if you can go adult to adult, you can really move things forward. Or you bend down to the child's level.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, hey, can you guys go to your room?
Come on.
I'm having a talk with little Jennifer here. Okay.
You cannot always have an adult to an adult conversation with a homeowner. It doesn't always happen that way.
But you can at least make an attempt, and by doing offer decline, so we could do this or we could do this. Here's the pros, here's the cons of each decision. Which one would you like? That's an adult conversation. That's not, I know better than you. Sit down, little boy. Let me show you how your system's going to work. Yeah. And then who owns the results of that? You do.
You do. Yeah. What is that book called, Nate?
It's called How to Teach, You Can't Teach a Kid. It's the longest title, and I hate it. You can't teach a kid to ride a bike at a seminar.
All right, guys, hold on. We have a phone call. Let me make sure that you are connected. Hold on. One memento is now discoverable. Whoever's on the line, you just hold your ass there for a second. It should be Adam, but
I'm loving the technical side of this skill.
No, this is actually pretty easy. It's just here lately, nobody's been calling in. They should be on.
I'm on.
There he is. What's up, man?
How you doing?
Good, buddy. What question do you have that you could not type for Mr. Nate Adams here, the home whisperer?
So this is my own house. Okay. You want the brief question or the full out saga?
I guess for him to make some kind of decision, I mean, I guess go ahead and give it to him and not too long.
The saga.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'm gonna bill you for like
it's not super
$295.
All right, it's not that long. All right, so here's the quick summary. So I moved them into my house, which is like a 1,900 square foot ranch, not including the basement, 10 years ago. About 5-6 years ago, I put in a 2-stage 18 SEER condenser. Ever since that time, when I put that in, I've been able to maintain, on the most humid days, 45% humidity, and the majority of the time, close to 40% humidity in the summertime, which is pretty damn good, if you ask me.
Yeah, that's fabulous.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what ended up happening is we had the ambition of finishing off the basement, and we were going to put a couple bedrooms down there because our boys are getting old and they're loud and whatever. So I had 2 window wells dug from, you know, a recommendation. A company came referred over with egress windows, and what ended up happening was the guy screwed up. He didn't tie in the drain to the drain tile. The basement started flooding. So I ended up calling another company to have drain tile installed. Interior drain tile, tie in the outdoor window well. So what I experienced after the interior drain tile was installed is the humidity now spiked almost immediately after. On average, I'm 55 to 59% humidity in the house, no matter if it's first or second stage running. Hold on, I gotta turn off these stupid notifications and stuff. And one thing I do know is, which I should have been watching them, I do know that they did not use a vapor barrier over the drain tile before they laid the concrete. And also right now, I don't have a sealed sump lid. It's just like a cheap plastic lid that has gaps and stuff in it. So my question is do you think the concrete is kind of off-gassing, not off-gassing, but, you know, still drying where it's letting off water? Do you think the water is coming through the concrete, the humidity through, or do you think it's the sump pit? I did have a sump pit, which is also not sealed, and it was never an issue in the past. So what is my humidity problem? How do I solve it?
Well, to all those questions you just asked, I have one answer: yes. All of them. So what I've noticed. So, do you have a humidity sensor? My mind's blanking. Where you put it against the surface and it reads the humidity of that surface?
No, I don't. I can pick one up.
$40, Home Depot. Go get yourself one. Put it on the masonry setting, and play around. So I suspect that you will find that where they dug is very wet, because I've found that on a couple of houses. So I mean, that's where I would look first. And how you deal with that, I'm not 100% sure. I've looked for a couple of solutions, and they're all just really freaking expensive or not that fun. Moisture meter, Susie said, yes, thank you. It's getting a little bit late and my vocabulary goes to hell. I'd check that and see if that's where it is, because if you have more moisture, there is a source, and that's what changed. So go see if it looks like that is the source. Is that helpful?
I was thinking about it. Yeah, it is helpful. I think I will go pick that up. You said they have it at Home Depot. I was actually thinking about picking up that dry lock that it's basically cement sealer that stops any kind of moisture from permeating through, and just painting the floor, the entire floor with that stuff. You know, I don't know. We'll see. It's an experiment that can happen.
Shoot, I've got a can of it at home, and I can't think of the name of it. It's got that pitch man. It's like the modern day Ron Popeil, but he has the beard. It slices, it dices, and all that stuff.
Flex Seal.
Flex Seal. Thank you. I feel like my daughter. She's always like, remember that time we went to that place, and she gives us all these details. We have to figure out what the heck it is. Thanks, Flex Seal. So yeah, you might try Flex Seal just on those parts, but measure the moisture first.
Okay.
Because that stuff looks like it's pretty mean. Actually, I had one client use it, and it took his clay tile foundation, and those things are a moisture nightmare. They are so bad when it comes to just letting water through them. And he painted that, and his basement dried up, and he used it as a family room. And that was a 1910 house, so that's unusual. So you might try that first, but moisture meter, see if you can figure out where the moisture is coming from first, and then address it.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
No problem.
Nice. Thanks for calling in, buddy. We're going to bill you for all your questions, all right?
All right. Very good.
Just kidding.
6 minutes and 22 seconds, so bill accordingly.
No, I'm just kidding. Thanks for calling in, buddy. Appreciate you.
All right. I'll talk to you. All right.
See
Bye.
you. All right. I guess, I'm willing to take one more as long as you don't have 15 questions like Adam. I'm just kidding, man. Adam's a good people's man. If anybody has another question, I'm willing to take one more question. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and end this. All right, I'm going to take that as we're going to go ahead and end this. Sorry about the technical difficulties tonight. It was, I don't know about the rest of you guys, man, but we got slammed. Like we're crazy now. It's gotten so damn busy.
It got hot.
Yeah, and it's not even hot yet though. That's the thing. It was only like in the mid 80s, but it was enough that it just went crazy. And yeah, it's been nuts. I don't even so I was out late. I helped run calls today just because, like I said, you got to make the money when it's there to be made. So,
Darn Skippy. Actually, speaking of which, can I give one last little thing here?
Sure, of course.
For anybody that's interested in following along with HVAC 2.0, if you go to hvac20.com, and then it's just a one-page mediocre site for the moment. It's coming, don't worry. But anyway, you go to hvac20.com, scroll to the bottom. At the right, it says professionals. Click that, and there's a little application, and then my partner will send you a whole bunch of stuff to read and a bunch of homework so that you can get your head around this, because most of what we're doing and most of building performance is getting your head right and dealing with the psychology of what's going on, because the technical side actually isn't that difficult. It's mainly psychology. So if we can get all that stuff right, you're good. But go in there, you'll get all the stuff. That first email, like everything there is free, and then once we open up for the second round, we'll let everybody know.
Nice.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So, Nate, you know, man, we appreciate you, man. Thank you for coming to the podcast. Thank you for doing this live stream. You know that you're welcome here anytime, man. We appreciate you. Definitely gonna stay in touch.
Dude, looking forward to it, and you may regret those words, Gil.
Yeah. Well, everything was good. The podcast was fine. It was tonight, man. I don't know what the hell happened, but yeah, no, you're always welcome here anytime, man. Everybody, I apologize about the issues tonight, man. It was just kind of it was one of those nights, man. I got home late and everything looked fine. We were sitting here bullshitting with a couple of minutes, and then all of a sudden it was everything went downhill fast. But all you guys that are here every week, man, thank you for everything. I really do appreciate you guys. Me and Kelly do both. Don't forget, next Tuesday it will be Uncensored Basics with me, Corey DeSormo, and Mr. Steve Demansky. It should be a good time. All right. Until next time, I guess. Well, Kelly, you got any words you want to say, my friend?
Just be sure to go and check out Nate's book at natethehousewhisperer.com. And thanks for coming on, Nate. This is fun.
My pleasure.
Yeah, and real fast, if you guys did notice, I didn't even tell Kelly, no podcast out today. It will be out next week. No excuse, man. I had a good time this weekend, and I just didn't want to edit. And that's just the flat out truth, man. Kelly knows, man. My grind is go, man. So sometimes I just need a fucking break, and I don't always try to sit here and praise how busy I am, because I know there's other people, you know, busier than me or the same or whatever. But it was nice to sit down and relax.
I try to slow him down all the time. I always tell him, like, and he's finally, like, I'm proud of him this year because he's actually, like, focusing on his health a little more and going to bed earlier and not staying up till 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Sleeping 2 hours and getting up and working till 8 the next night. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
So people, and Kelly knows that's what would happen. I would stay up and do stuff at night until 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, and 5:30, 6 o'clock, I'm up.
Yeah, it's insane.
And I do that all the time. So now, man, I just had to take a step back a little bit, man. It's just had to, and last night when I was just sitting around, we had the neighbors, kids were playing, we had a little bonfire, having a few drinks. I just didn't want to leave that, you know what I mean, to come in here and edit. It was like, you know what? Fuck it. It's a good thing about being the boss. I don't have to, So what? Kill me. But anyway, you guys have a good night, man. We love you guys, and I'll talk with you guys soon. All right?